Alright, so it is Sunday. We're back out here working on the Ram revival. Keep having stuff come up. Can't really get any time here, but don't know if this will be tacked on to the end of the last video or start a new one. Last time we basically got the lower dash away from this metal dash frame. Now the metal dash frame is almost ready to be prepped and painted, minus of course the mess of wiring. So it's important to note here, we're working kind of opposite. This is flipped face down, if you will. So this would be the passenger side or your glove box area, center, and then over here obviously with the fuse box, this would be your driver's side. So we're working in the opposite fashion here as more texts come in, stop us from making progress. But right here, I've covered this in better detail last time. I just want to quickly highlight again what we will be removing. So this would be our heater box connections. We have a cable tie with a push pin landing pad. Of course, that's going to come through. We got the cable side and then the push pin side. You're going to see a lot of those, including here. We're going to have them come down, going towards our glove box light right there. Coming back up, we've got one here in front of this arm. We have our next one here. We have a little jut in the sheet metal. We've got another at this point. Then coming up this arm, we've got another one. I believe this yellow would be an airbag connector. Continuing on to the other side of the arm, we have our next one. You can kind of see it there. Then we've got sound deadening material. We have our next cable tie push pin setup. And then right behind it, we have a slightly larger one, and it's going to be the inverse. So where this holds the cable under the sheet metal, this will hold the wire on top of the sheet metal. And it's a very thin one. I believe this is an illumination point for something. Coming back across, we've got the same thing here that terminates back into this harness. We also have more sound deadening material here at this seam. Coming down, we have passed, I believe, this guy right here, another cable tie push pin, another one here. Coming down this way, we've got the grounding pin that's riveted from the back side. We'll just need to remove the nut and washer. Not sure if it's one piece or two. Coming back down the frame, spot welded here, we have a bracket. We've got these two in place. Obviously, these are tracked on the back side. I need to figure out how to free this one, and we'll get that off, of course, just for painting purposes. Coming over, we've got this funky guy kind of standalone right here. You can sort of see the wire colors there. It would be like a dark green, a black, a light green, and then a black with a purple tracer. Coming in right here, these two connections are going to be for your 12 volt and cigarette outlet respectively. They can be denoted by the convoluted tubing. Staying up top here, I think we've covered everything up to this point with more sound in there. We get in over here. This plastic tray that routes the wires above and around the gauge cluster, it is held in by a screw right here, and then coming over, a screw pretty much mirrored on the other side despite being a different structure. Similarly to note, this arm has two bolts here. They look like 10mm heads that actually hold it in place. Coming down, we've got this gray and white harness, essentially green, blue, yellow, top to bottom, if you will. Should be able to just de-pin that. Coming down, we've got a very large cable tie push pin set up right there, wrapped into the frame at this point. Coming down, we have one strand come out for the OBD2 connection. Carrying on this way in convoluted tubing, we've got a fairly large cable tie push pin. Another one we've extracted already. This ultimately terminates at the airbag control module. Tracing back up from the airbag and the OBD2, the bigger bundle comes out and has three unique terminal ends on it, but lucky for us, the only cable tie to contend with is up towards the top. Now moving up the dash frame again, these three here, this plugs in behind the gauge cluster. The black and the gray are on track rails into the sub dash behind the gauge cluster. No cable ties to contend with there. Same thing here, these have been removed. They both anchor through the framework somewhere. We'll figure that out when we get back to it, but it was not in this region at least. Coming down this main run of cable, most of it's going to take off over here towards the fuse box. Coming down, we've got this cable tie, which of course has nothing to do with a connection to the metal framework, nor does any of this. Your body plug, this whole train here is steering column pieces. These plug in the lower driver's side footwell, so that's all good. Coming up here, these two would be like your headlights switch area, and then of course the fuse box itself held in with 3 screws. One we've removed here, the second is right there where you see the black, and the third is way back there, sort of between those 2 plastic ribs that you can see. Coming into this side, we have 1 screw here visible. That is again to the fuse box. You've got a plastic push pin, which I guess again is fuse box related. A bottom screw would be here. Across the top of the dash in this structure, this would be driver side instrument cluster. There's really nothing visible on the top side, which is great. Same with on the side here. All your cable tie push pin connections are going to be pretty well at this point and below. So hopefully that does a decent job, coupled with what we've already done, to sort of walk you through that. I'm going to get a fan back on because I'm sweating bullets out here. And we're going to get the fan going. I'll pop those off. I've got my brush here. This is the Stahlwille one. It's obviously seen some use. These last really well for me. The previous one I had. We'll take a look at this one just for the tool people who might be watching. That is the condition it is in. Pretty much still new, I would say, not any significant wear, but we will be using that. Again, I wanted to have like a really cool, belt sander pneumatic type of a thing for this. I still may get one, but at the same time I can't get one right now, and I kind of want to get some work done, so we're just going to hit it with this. I've got some, I think that's 120 grit back there. Nothing scientific, I'm just working with what I've got. And see if we can't make some headway here, removing some wiring, getting some sanding done, and most importantly for me, getting that fan on right there. So I'm going to do that. I decided to give the rigid one a break. Interestingly enough, that box fan I thought would put out more air since it's a little bit more humid today. It is not. So the little rigid fans seem to do better, which you wouldn't think given the profile differences. That's a 20-inch, little rigid one is tiny in comparison, but it is what it is. As always, when you're working with rusted metal, and particularly with kind of sharp edges here and there, for the most part it's smoothed out, but there are going to be a few bends and breaks in it that might catch you. Probably smart to wear gloves if you're doing anything crazy, or safety glasses, possibly a mask as well. But I'm going to hit this real quick, see if we can make some progress. Alright, so it has been a little while. I actually been real busy this past weekend, and then throughout the week I think I had like 1 or 2 nights I was able to actually get out here and work on the dash, but making some headway. It's starting to look a lot better. Luckily it hadn't really flash rusted back from anything I've done. It is supposed to cool down. We're like close to 100 today, and I think we have a chance of snow tomorrow. So that's life where I live. But anyway, you get an idea. It's looking a whole lot better, and I've been using a combination. I've been hand sanding. First thing I did, I hit it with that Stahlwille wire brush. Then I used literally just what you see off of that sheet, which is almost nothing, just this corner and a chunk in the middle. And then after that, I don't know where I sat the drill, it's over here. Actually, I've been using little flap wheels, and then a combination of that and some like sand rolls, which you can actually see right there. So that's all the stuff we've applied to this thing, and it's going fairly well. Where you see like heavy concentration still, I don't really know the point in keeping this sticker, but like I said, I do like to document things for restoration purposes should anyone ever go to that extent later. And it looks like this sticker, it's upside down here, but it would be a 25100234, again if that matters to anyone. Up here we haven't made as much headway just because of the contours. They're kind of crazy, and then these brackets still have quite a bit of heavy rust on them. But just again, I kind of like to make progress when I do this stuff, as opposed to just like film every little bit of it. It's not the most exciting thing in the world. It is satisfying work. I will admit that. At least I find it to be satisfying. Taking something that kind of looked like that and turning it into something that looks more like this, something you can be proud of at least. But I'll quit rambling. Next time you see this will probably be when it's done, fully shined up here, and I'll probably come in, step up, use some finer sandpaper, everything. Still debating on which route I want to go in terms of paint, but I'm also debating a primer on it. We shall see. I think I could honestly just shoot the blue over it like I've done with the other stuff, but we'll figure something out. So nonetheless, I wanted you to see this kind of like a It's probably a little more than midway, but you know, like if I come back over here, that's kind of more of the nasty stuff, right? So I'll continue working on it, and we will see what we wind up with. All right, so we're finally back, and you'll note something's wrong. There's clean carpet, and there's no dash on it. And right here, we kind of got some remnants. Didn't have to use a lot of sandpaper. Again, I had pretty good luck just using the drill. I picked up that die grinder. I haven't even used it. For whatever reason, I thought it was variable speed. It would have been awesome if it would turn slower, but it doesn't. Everything you see here, like the little nylon cup brushes, the polycarbonate and stuff, all that's designed for like 4,500. I don't have anything that's designed for 25,000, which is the minimum speed on that. And I did use a couple of the wire brushes from that kit and that same tool haul, so it wasn't a total loss. This thing will be nice for like aluminum and cast iron and heads and intakes and stuff, but not good for what I was doing here, just trying to clean something up. But I got my prep all. I shot my first coat of primer last night in the dark, in the wind. I was just bent on getting it done. Again, I haven't really had a lot of free time. And you know, when you get like 20-30 minutes at a time, it's really hard to make progress. And I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna get this done. And I sanded and you know, cleaned and everything. And I didn't want to spray in here, but it was also windy outside. I thought, well, you know, it's primer, we'll see what happens. So, well, let me take you up there. And, we'll see this place, man. I can't wait to get this done so I can clean up now. I'm also glad it sounds like somebody's mowing their neglected yard out there. So this is what we have in primer. I'll probably come in and strip off where I think, you know, like the grounds might be, maybe some other connections, but everything was masked except for that sticker. I told you on that, you know, it'd be like restoration purposes. I just went ahead and sprayed over it. I thought, you know, that might actually in the long run kind of help preserve it some weird way or another. But this is not perfect, but I also don't have a blaster, and I technically do, but it just doesn't work well. So for a hand job, I would say we did pretty good. You know, steel brush, the Stahlwille one, you hit everything. This had so much ridiculous just scale rust on it. That helped out quite a bit, loosened everything up. Hand sanded, as you can see. I mean, there's just an infinite amount of awkward cavities and stuff where it's really hard to get even just a rotary tool in. So we hand sanded a lot. We got to use the drill where we could. This thing looked awesome, all shined up. I'm not sure. I think I got to a point where I just quit filming. You know, like it was just wasting my time type of a deal. I get like that when I'm kind of disappointed I'm not making progress I would like. But I just shot the final side here. This actually, I guess I hit most of this, turns out, upside down last night, so I didn't really get to evaluate it. I just let it dry, and then it was super dark. The bugs were all coming in. Looks like right there we might could hit another shot or two of primer. But I'm wanting to at least get the first coat of blue on this thing so I can progress with my life. But I'd have to say it turned out pretty good. We've probably got the only second gen Ram that has had the dash pulled and prepped for paint and primed and then gonna have paint. So as long as it's not gonna deteriorate, again, my main thing is protecting that LMC dash. I don't want it to crack. If we have to pull the heater core apart, whatever we have to do, I want this to be the finished result, right? So there it is. You could technically prep this a little better. It would involve undoing spot welds. I'm not going for a gold class restoration. I'm the original owner. This is my daily driver. It was my daily driver. I need it to be my daily driver again. So maybe, you know, in another 50 years, if I'm still kicking, we could do that. But I mean, you know, just now is not the time. So we're going above and beyond now. But again, to like come in and undo the spot welds there just so we can clean that really good, just not now. So, you know, if this was like a 71 Hemi Cuda and I was restoring it and we were trying to go gold class, you know, yes, that's when you go ahead and you strip down, you undo your spot welds, you take off all your mounting tabs and everything. The reason I should also mention, this was critical for me to point out, I told you I was probably going to pull that sound deadener. I actually didn't. I just taped over it. And I tried to just tape over. I shot one coat of primer on the underside so it would blend in, and then on the top I tried to make sure we kept it silver. But the reason for that, the sound deadener I have, which I plan to use and cut in the exact same shapes and apply in the same areas as the factory did, it was way thicker. And I didn't want to have to go out. You can't really get just like a small sheet of this stuff. You kind of have to buy like a lot of it. And I want to use what I have, and that's an expense I don't need to be making right now. So it is what it is, but I'm super anxious to get that blue shot down over this. I went with the white primer thinking it might lighten up my blue, and we will see what we think of it. So, but there it is right now in primer. This is, I guess, the only first and last time you'll see it in primer. I think it looks pretty good like that. It's, you know, if I could leave it bare metal, shined up like we had it, I would. I didn't want to clear coat it. This actually looks really good too. Tempted to hold it in the truck, but I just want to get the blue shot on it, be done with it, get the dash pack together, get it in the truck, get the double din in, have the heater core changed out, all that stuff, and this is sort of what we've got to do. So there it is. Next time you see it, it'll be blue. Alright, so Wednesday night here, the painted dash frame has been moved back to the tailgate in preparation of throwing all of that wiring back on it. So painted everything, made a huge mess, made a bigger mess when I tried to clean it. And it strung out over a couple of nights. We primed it, we painted it. The only issues were when I flipped it after the first coat of blue, I kind of stuck to my masking paper, so I had a few places we had to touch up, but I gotta say, it looks pretty good. Apologies on my voice, just had somebody's dog try to attack me, so that's sadly a regular occurrence with people and their pets that never seem to do any wrong, but nothing a good yelling and a knife can't fix. So anyway, here we are. This is what we've got now. The one thing I had thought about and wondered was about, you know, grounds. Am I going to create any issues? That's why we mask everything off. Debated masking these off. I decided if there's an issue, I'd just, you know, sand it down or hit it with a rotary tool. I've been checking continuity. I've done it every way I know how. I've got a test light somewhere way down there. I've got all these stupid leads strung out. I had 2 meters on it. And we do seem to have decent continuity pretty much anywhere that I come down and scrape the surface. For example, if we were to just take one of these innocent little clips, you know, and kind of just back and forth on the paint a little bit, it's in good shape. I'm thinking what I'll do anywhere these studs are, I'll try to pick up some star washers. I might have some sitting around somewhere, and maybe just sand lightly. Again, I'm trying to avoid this turning into a rust bomb like it was, which it was pretty bad considering, you know, that I live in like a rust-free environment, right? But a couple more decades of that, and I'm not sure how much longer the dash frame would hold up intact, right? So that's what we're trying to avoid, but maybe at least on the ground lugs and around them, we'll kind of brush the paint off a little bit. Of course, we could throw down like some petroleum jelly or dielectric grease. Freaking these weird looking moths just scared the snot out of me there in my peripheral vision. But I gotta say, I think it looks pretty good. It's important that I spend plenty of time showcasing this because no one will ever see this again. That's right, unless for whatever reason I don't have the truck, whether I sell it for some crazy reason after all this, which I don't plan to do, or it's stolen. No one will ever see this. You won't know it's there. It's not really even visible if you're under the dash, minus taking this panel off. There's that separate piece sort of underneath the steering column. Maybe someone sees that. That's like the only thing that would even be remotely in question. But all this, no one's ever going to see it. And, again, I will know it was done well. I will be happy with it. And luckily, through the power of the internet, some of you can be like, hey, you know, that guy went above and beyond. He made his dash frame look really good. Not only did he take the rust off, but he painted it. Now, a lot of people, you know, would like scream abominations, you know, about that, but you got to realize, again, I come from the old schools, and Charger, Duster, E-body, A-body, B-body, E-body, C-body, whatever. The dash frame itself, there was no plastic back in the day, right? You had your metal frame, and that was actually the exposed dash. Like right here, this wouldn't be slotted. That would have been the finished dash frame. And then you would have your internals, you'd have where your wires mount, you'd have some grounds. They're painted from the factory. When people restore the cars, they're painted. And I realize the electronics aren't quite as complex, but you got to think of all the people Resto modding these and going frame off Restos. A lot of times the dash, especially in a Mopar, it's a complex piece but simple, the old school Mopars. So it's a situation where a lot of times people come in and they'll just pull this, send it to be blasted and powder coated. A lot of people that blast also powder coat. not many issues, you know, in the past 20 years or so that people have probably been powder coating dash frames. Has there been anything brought up about bad ground? So I am a little leery. I don't want to have to rip it back out, but I think just by knocking a little paint off here and there, and again, there's really only 3. These aren't actually even grounds. I think that's just for a bracket, if I remember correctly. Could be wrong, but I think it was the bracket. So there's basically this, and then over there where you kind of see that yellow lead clip to it, and that's it. That's really it. So as long as we can get that set up, I will try my best to test this before I like fully assemble everything. But right now I'm really excited. I've got dinner in the oven. Not as excited about that, but I'm excited about putting that wiring back on. So I think I'm going to start on that. But again, I hope you bask in the glory of the painted dash frame, because like I said, no one else will ever see this. But I think it turned out really good. Again, I almost went with like a clear coat or a silver. Just anytime I see bare metal and it's rust free, it's a beautiful sight. And, I guess that's the machinist in me speaking, right? But I started to do that. Then when I hit it with the white primer, I actually really liked that. White, silver, aluminum, somewhere in that color palette, that would honestly be ideal in terms of future troubleshooting. But again, you know, this is my little touch here. I thought, hey, I'm gonna paint it blue. So that's what I did, and here it is. And we're gonna quit yakking, start putting all that wiring back together. I'm not sure how thorough I will be in that, because it's basically reverse of the disassembly. But I will try to kind of showcase everything once it's complete. Got to get this out of here. I need to find some bits, but that's another deal related for work. So anyway, hopefully we don't have issues with grounding, and we'll take it from there. So again, every test I could think of, you know, test light, continuity, everything seemed to check out. So that's good news. But I might, as much as I hate to, I might just go ahead and kind of clean up around here, try to find star washers. In fact, the ground trees, did they have anything? I'm trying to grab this for you. This is one of the main ground trees right there. Doesn't look like it did have a star washer, but we could get one in there. No big deal. So I'll be working on this. I'll figure something out. And keep your fingers crossed for me, because it would really suck to have to take this back up. So I'm going to get to work, and I'll catch you back for an update. Alright, just walked in the shop. It is about 6:45, so pretty early start for me. The good news is I cooked dinner last night. It'll last me 3 days. I don't have to go inside because I won't start a fire tonight. And, progress from last night. These will be HVAC electrical connections, I believe. We've got this tucked in, kind of following the same routing as before, just reverse procedure. That goes airbag, maybe? Don't hold me to it. Glove box light, all this stuff. You'll note what I wound up spending the most time on last night was just sanding that down, as much as I hate to. I might come in and put some dielectric grease or something, but that will ensure, even though I did have continuity and everything bench tested, it checked out good. There's a whole lot of electric stuff going on here, as you might have noticed. So I would rather play it safe, so that's what we're going to roll with. Basically, stopping point was over this direction. Got the airbag module in down here. Got the OBD2 plugged back in. I think I have everything routed correctly, as best I know. These I could not remember if I was frustrated by them and thought they'd have been easier to access if they were pointed down or not. So I just went back with how they were factory. The good news is these stupid little, I cannot find these either, little cable tie landing pad things. But they're still functional, but also some of them are worn out more than others. So it is what it is. But we got that, and let's see here. Kind of stopped here mainly because like I was about to, you know, start a fire in the oven, but also we've got the extension bracket that would bolt up, I believe, here. These two are tapped, if you can kind of make that out, the small holes there. It juts up. Then I wanted to get the fuse box mounted before, you know, I started like routing everything, just so I have as much space as humanly possible, because it is tight quarters. And then right here, again, hated to do it, but kind of needed to. Got that ground off again. There's the factory stuff again. If you missed that part of the video, I wound up leaving what the factory had, just because my sound deadening was way thicker, way heavier. and I didn't want to spend the money on getting something thin that I would literally just use for this right now. So storage is kind of at a premium in here at the moment. So I'm going to can it, get back to work, start assembling this as best I can, just referencing the pictures I took on my phone as I go if I have questions. But truth be told, you know, wiring like this, when it's been laid out for 20 years, it kind of falls back where it goes. Not always, but typically it's going to be really close to where it should be. If you do anything wrong, it's probably not too far off. But I'm going to start trying to get all this stuff mounted back, and we will see how things go tonight. Alright, so quick awkward update for you. I've got electric grease on my pinky there, but check out how close of a match the blue I went with is to the relay there. Now again, that has zero bearing on anything. I just thought it was neat, so we're going to cover it. But fuse box is back in. We've got the wire duct here, and I've got both screws, again, one on each side, sort of in that formation there. Body module, I threw that back on. I was going to plug this back in. It'll hook up there. I don't know that you can tell. I know you can tell I sanded it, but I've got dielectric grease all over everything, including right there, and then right here all the way around. Anywhere that's painted and a little bit beyond in an attempt to prevent rust and to promote good grounds, of course. So wanted to cover that before it gets wrapped up or flipped, or I start throwing plastic on it or something crazy. But gonna throw that on. Let's see here. I'm kind of thinking after that, all that steering column, body plug-ins, these three harnesses that were a total pain in the butt to get to, I think they're still in the truck. These will latch into kind of like the plastic of the sub dash, if you will. So I think we're about to that point. So I'm going to tighten that down. Again, the flex head actually gets some action for that. It works really well there. And then same thing over here. You can kind of get a better access point. But just wanted to highlight that because it is important. When you do something, take the extra few seconds to do it right. My weapon of choice is the Loctite dielectric grease, just because that's what I seem to be able to find frequently that's a reputable brand. So that's what we go with. But I'm going to get this mounted. Get some other things buttoned up. I'm painting. I grabbed that bracket. It was my first test piece to see if I liked it in blue. That'll bolt up here. I noticed there was some show through, or it didn't have good coverage on the paint, because again, I just slapped it out to see if I wanted to paint it blue or not. So I've got that drying. Once that's dry, these two will go there. Again, reverse order on everything that you hopefully documented, because it's easy to forget this stuff, especially if it drags out. Case in point, you know, I'd scribed and traced all this crud, and then it turns out over here there was the, you know, idiot-proof way of fastening it. So it's one of those things, you'll figure it out as you go, but just wanted to highlight that, and I'm going to get back to work. Alright, so I think I've got everything pretty well done. Dielectric grease applied, everything clipped and restrained where I think it should be clipped restrained. The only thing I'm really not 100% sure on is this guy right here. It's probably going to be a bulb for either the coin holder, ashtray, cup holder, something in that area. There were two holes that lined up pretty good with those cable tie landing pads, so I just went ahead and threw them there. I could be wrong. I'm honestly not quite 100% on that one, but right there you can kind of see that one, and then this one is tucked up way back in there. But that was about all that wasn't connected that I thought should be, and again, it lined up, so I just kind of went with it. Everything else, I think we're ready to get the ductwork and the sub dash over here and start kind of going to town. So this is it. This is kind of the end of the line for this portion. And now we're gonna start putting the plastic back on. So one last look at it again, because no one will ever see this except me, or if someone, you know, steals the truck or something crazy happens, I'm no longer here and somebody winds up with it, parts it out, whatever. If you've come across a blue dash, it was probably mine. So with that said, I'm excited to get the plastic and the ducts kind of back intact here, so I'm gonna get started on that. Alright, so I am really thirsty, really hungry. Kind of wish I wouldn't have tried to throw this on, but that's what you do when you have limited time, limited free time anyway. And, anyway, here we are, and there's a couple of things. This, I don't know if it was already broken or not, but it's, you know, cracking considerably there. This one's just fine. Coming in, this glove box latch thing relies on plastic. It's a stupid design. It never should have been instituted. that was broken long before. Just one time the glove box didn't shut right and it just completely cracked out, dropped the pin. So I may try to upgrade that. Coming up, I think I'd noticed this one prior. Right in this area, sort of your instrument cluster bezel, that is actually kind of cracking there. It's actually down to this point. I might have to hit that with something. And then coming around to this tab itself is actually okay, but it's just right, if you watch that, you can kind of see where it's cracking. This is a part line, sort of I guess like an upper and lower right around the fuse box, something like that, but this is actually a crack, so that's not good. Subsequently, I would have loved to have shot some screws in this thing, flipped it over for the night, and, and been ready to go to town, get all the wiring kind of tucked in and everything. But now I'm kind of thinking I might have to address some of those issues first. So there's really no good way to move something this long and flimsy by yourself. You kind of think, well, you hold it by the middle and then the ends droop. If you hold it by the ends, the middle droops. It's not that it's heavy, it's just that it's extremely fragile. Extremely frail. This was a steel frame, steel dad wouldn't be any issue at all. If it was a well done plastic, it wouldn't be a problem. But I mean, this stuff is super frail, and again, it's not available. The dash top, yes, we can get that from LMC. But this sub dash, as I constantly refer to it, is unobtainium. You're going to have to go to a wrecking yard, and you're going to have to get something probably far worse than what you currently have. So unless yours completely sucks, you're probably going to do better with what you have in most cases. So that said, I'm going to, my head's starting to hurt. I think I'm going to have to get in, make supper, get something to drink. But it's actually warm back up. I think tomorrow we're supposed to hit a record high, which was broken last year. But nonetheless, like mid-90s is pretty warm for late September here. But you kind of get a feel for what it looks like. Again, this will all sadly be covered up pretty much. So it is what it is. But I'm going to make this a stopping point, and I will be back out hopefully tomorrow night. Maybe this weekend, if I can swing by Harbor Freight, maybe I'll get like a plastic welder. I'm trying to think if I have anything to play with. I guess, I mean, there's plenty of cracked dash top. I guess I could experiment with that, right? And, maybe melt that down. I know with the old cars, like if you're trying to fix a Charger's grill or something, you always try to have like a broke up piece of plastic from an original grill, and then everything just seems to work better. I don't know if we want to do that here since the top plastic sucked. But the problem is, every plastic welder I've looked at, it comes with, like an assortment of rods, but they're black, and I don't really want black here. It might bleed through, but I'll try to figure something out. So maybe that's what I'll do tonight later, is research plastic welding with colors. Color matched colors would be excellent. But anyway, exciting times nonetheless. Also, before that's rust, I haven't like cleaned this thing up yet, but before I get back to throwing this thing in, still have to do the heater core. So I'm going to get inside and dwell on all of this and see if I come up with any great ideas or not. But as always, thanks for watching. I'll catch you back here. I don't ever know, honestly, if this is the end of a video or a continuation or what exactly I'm doing. So it's really hard when you like stagger this out, a few hours every night type of thing. You lose track of how much time you've invested, everything like that. So I'm sure you can relate. That's what happens when you have like a real job and what you're trying to do for fun and hobby type stuff. So I'm gonna go eat, and I'll see if we come up with anything cool. So stay tuned.